Did Clemson and Notre Dame just save the ACC, or is this Clemson's way of saying peace?
You're talking ball with the ACC squad, sponsored by Game Time. From Florida State to North Carolina, from Syracuse to Miami, and from NC State to California, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming ACC weekend. Hang on, it could get loud, it could get heated, and it will definitely be fun. Squad up, you're part of the ACC squad.
Hello and welcome everyone into Locked On ACC Squad. I'm Jackson Holzer, the host of Locked On Syracuse, and we got 5 members here of the ACC here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone, the hosts of Locked On Wolfpack. We got AJ Black, the host of Locked On Boston College, and we got a newbie, a fresh face who's kind of in the ACC, and well, this topic today is kind of relevant here. Tyler Wojak, the host of Locked On Irish. You know what we're talking about on the squad, folks. Clemson and Notre Dame, a 12-year deal. Holy crap. Did this just save the ACC, or is Clemson saying, we're out the door? Plus, later on in the show, early top 25 basketball in the ACC. Not a lot of representation. All that and more here on this edition of the Locked On ACC Squad. But before we get to everything, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So, folks, in case you all missed it, this happened on Tuesday afternoon. You're now watching and listening to this on Thursday evening. Clemson and Notre Dame football agreed to an annual home and home 12 consecutive years running from 2027 through 2038. And Tyler, let's start with you. From a Notre Dame perspective, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's great for Notre Dame. I also think it's great for college football as a whole, because one thing that we've been talking about just in college football throughout much of the past decade plus is the end of a lot of traditional rivalries. I think it's been the biggest downside to conference realignment is we've seen a lot of great storied rivalries just disappear because it's not really feasible. But one thing that we don't normally talk about is the creation of new rivalries. And I think that Notre Dame and Clemson is going to be a great modern rivalry that did not exist 15 years ago. It was not really even a thing. But over the course of the past 15 years, there have been a lot of terrific games between these two teams with really high stakes. I mean, you think back to basically the end of Clemsoning in 2015 when Clemson knocked off Notre Dame in a hurricane. It was an unbelievable game between two really good teams. That was awesome. There have been more great games between these two schools. And I think that with each passing year, as these matchups have gotten better and better, me personally as a fan, I'm like, I want more of this. And it was kind of unfortunate they would just kind of come and go here and there. I mean, they even had a college football playoff game together, but it felt like a rivalry was brewing. And now it's basically official. The fact that these two schools came together and said, hey, we should do this every single year. I think it's a great step forward. And I think it's going to be one of the first examples of these new rivalries that didn't exist before conference realignment that we're going to start to see going forward.
That's how you know Tyler don't give a damn about the ACC. He said it's great for college football and it's great for Notre Dame. You notice how he intentionally didn't say it's great for the ACC? Because it's terrible for the ACC. This is Clemson's way of saying, hey, I'm going. Just imagine if you and your old lady live together. Y'all got the same cell phone plan and all that. And then all of a sudden she's like, actually, I think I want to go over to T-Mobile. Wait, why is that? Why aren't we going over to T-Mobile? What's happening here? Because you already got an agreement. The agreement was already in place for the ACC to specifically allow Florida State, Clemson, and Miami to play Notre Dame more. All of our teams, everybody else, Jackson, the Syracuse Orange, Grayson, NC State, AJ, the Boston College Eagles, we all were to the side to begin with. Now, it's not even an informal thing where it's like, I mean, y'all go get in where y'all fit in, I guess. It's officially Clemson saying, hey, regardless of whether we in ACC or not, spoiler alert, we're not going to be here for long. We're going to want to play Notre Dame. I do agree. It's great for Notre Dame. Absolutely. It's great for Clemson. Absolutely. For the actual sport of college football, As a whole, sure, it's great. But for the ACC, this is one of the biggest writing on the wall moments to say, in the words of Keith Sweat, I'm not gonna be here for long, because they are gone.
I mean, if there's one thing we know about Notre Dame, it's that Notre Dame loves Notre Dame. If there's two things we know about Notre Dame, they love Notre Dame and talking about Notre Dame. But this is a great deal for Notre Dame and for Clemson as well, because, I mean, in the new era of revenue sharing, this is going to be one of the top televised games, I'd imagine, for each and every one of single of those 12 years. And so my only, I guess, ask is that it does remain a home and home. I don't want to see it get like commercialized and they're playing this game in Nashville for some reason. As a pure college football enjoyer, I think this is good for the sport, but it needs to be home and home. That is where you see rivalry, or I guess new rivalries like this one. That's where it becomes very real. And so, you know, for Clemson and the ACC here, I was initially thinking to myself, maybe this will be good for an ACC. It's almost like an anchor of sorts with Notre Dame, but then I come to find out that this deal will be good if Clemson is in the ACC or not in the ACC. So this honestly doesn't really matter for the ACC. It might even be a bad thing if you look at Clemson potentially leaving in like 4 to 5 years. So on a college football front, yes, it's a good thing, but for the ACC, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I'll jump in here as well. I mean, I think kind of just to piggyback on what Kenton and Grayson were saying, yeah, like this is a great move for college football. I go back to the COVID days. I remember watching the Notre Dame and Clemson matchups there. Those were incredible games. But for the ACC itself, this is not good. This is not something that's going to help the conference. And I know people are going to hit the comments. AJ, you talk about Boston College. You're irrelevant. You're the reason we're here. I get it. I'm not.
Well, hold on, AJ. It's not your fault. Okay,
I was just about to say there's a specific school whose former quarterback helped his son get a promotion at Waycott. Never mind. We're not going to get into that right now. But AJ, you're not the reason that we're in this position.
It's also not AJ's fault. It's not your fault.
I am the face of Boston College, apparently. I don't know where that came from, but apparently because I'm the only one left that still talks about the school, this is where it goes, right?
You might actually be.
I think I am.
I don't really know many other Boston College podcasts.
There's one other podcast out there that exists, and then there's me, and I'm the nut that talks about Boston College. But that's not here or there. Look, BC and Notre Dame, big rivalry, holy war. I went to BC when BC was kicking Notre Dame's butt every year. That hasn't happened in 15 years. Clemson and Notre Dame is a much better rivalry now, and it is great. But it feels like this was all done with Jim Phillips whistling in the doorway while no one's watching what's going on, and they make this move, and it does nothing to really help the conference. But you know, the conference is on death's door anyways. Like, you know, they've made these moves to make this conference stronger with the brand, you know, the brand incentives and the winning incentives. But that's all putting a Band-Aid on the hole in the wall. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a healthy conference right now. And this is just another move that shows me, yeah, we're still here, but it seems like in just a couple of years, this is all going to fall apart.
Well, I think there is one way where it's actually pretty good.
Well, go for it. Tell us.
Well, the one way where it might be actually decent for the conference is the new structure in place where you get more money from the conference by your TV ratings. So by Clemson and Notre Dame getting better TV ratings, or really it's Clemson, maybe that incentivizes them to stay in the conference more?
Well, I think that's part of it, because with the new revenue sharing model that basically Clemson and Florida State agreed to, don't they take 60% of the revenue, but then it's distributed proportionally based on who brings in the biggest ratings. So I think that Clemson made that deal and they're thinking, okay, we're going to get the biggest TV ratings, so they are going to therefore get more money. And then they get this deal with Notre Dame, which does count as one of the 5 ACC games that Notre Dame plays every single year. So as soon as that agreement was made with the ACC between Clemson, Florida State, and then the conference at large, and then they realized that they would get paid based on the amount of views that they would get, then they were like, all right, let's go to Notre Dame and set this up, because of all the great matchups that we've already seen before between these two schools. So it really does benefit Clemson, and I think that this has been in the works for a while on their side because they saw an opportunity and they took advantage of it.
Absolutely.
I think too.
But
I was gonna say real quick. I think if I'm not mistaken, isn't Florida State and Miami also supposed to be playing Notre Dame more often in the future? I think that was like a side.
Yeah,
story.
that was also part of it, but
it's
it's not like
year.
yeah, it's not set in stone over the course of a 12-year deal because also if you think about it, 12 years is a super long time. It's kind of hard to imagine what college football is going to look like because Notre Dame also has Alabama and Texas on the schedule 1 year in the same year that this deal is going on. And I was thinking like, okay, what are the odds that they actually play all three games, just given the fact that these schedules are so fluid. But I do think that this Notre Dame-Clemson rivalry is here to stay.
Well, folks, we still got plenty more to discuss about Clemson and Notre Dame and the long-term health of the ACC. So you're going to want to stick with us here on the Locked On ACC Squad. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena. And with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. That's right, folks. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you would like. And the all-in pricing feature is truly the best because it means no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you are going to pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks for sticking with us here on the Locked On ACC Squad. I'm Jackson Holzer, the host of Locked On Syracuse. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone, the hosts of Locked On Wolfpack. AJ Black, the host of Locked On Boston College. We did lose one member. Don't worry, he's okay. But Locked On Irish is not here anymore here on this podcast.
Oh, the Irish only being halfway in? What a shocker. What a surprise.
It's
an
crazy.
Irish goodbye, if you will.
It was definitely an Irish goodbye. And you know what? We don't even have Dalton Pence in his Wi-Fi. What a shame here on this ACC squad. But you know what? Let's continue talking about Clemson and Notre Dame in this 12-year deal here. And how do you think this affects the long-term health of the ACC in general?
You know, you said that Jim Phillips was probably whistling out the door. No, he was sitting in that chair in hotel rooms. You know what the chair is called. We just can't say it on there here. He was sitting in that chair watching this go down because this was a direct undermining of the ACC. How does this feel for the ACC's health? Again, I want to know, right? And this is why, you know, Tyler knows he's my boy. I'm not actually upset at him, but I'm damn upset that he left because I want to call to the carpet the idea that, well, this may incentivize Clemson to stay with the conference longer because they're going to get more money out of this deal. If that were the case, I know that it was not formally set in stone that Clemson was going to play Notre Dame every year. However, what was set in stone was that Clemson was going to be one of three teams that was guaranteed every year. Syracuse got no such guarantee. NC State got no such guarantee. Boston College, Wake Forest, SMU, all of these teams got no such guarantee.
We kind of do, but that's a different story. We have a long history with them, but that's different. But anyways.
Very fair. Very fair. But a vast majority of the ACC has nothing to do with a guarantee. I know North Carolina's not in on it. I know Louisville's not in on any long-term guarantee. So it to me, I'm looking at this and saying, at the end of the day, the ACC already put something in place to make sure that you were going to live high on the hog, to make sure that you got the additional opportunities. And yet a deal was still struck to say, without the ACC, without any affiliation to the ACC, we're still going to get you guys, and we're still going to get you once a year. Again, if you're talking about the long-term health of the ACC, this is very much so a very, at minimum, kneecapping of that long-term health.
So when do you think Clemson leaves?
2030.
I would say 2029, 2030 as well, because that way it aligns perfectly when the new TV deal is up for the Big Ten and the SEC, I believe.
Fair enough. And I was also thinking about this from a Clemson perspective even more. It's a win-win no matter what. Like, this is the most brilliant thing that they could have possibly done here, because either they can stay in the ACC for basically as long as they want and can get more money than basically every other school because they're going to be playing Notre Dame every year, or when they decide to leave the ACC, which feels like it's inevitable at this point, well, they kind of look pretty attractive because they're playing Notre Dame every year. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, for Clemson, this is a no lose situation for that. I mean, they're gonna, they're building their profile for when they hit free agency, right? Like, they know in a couple of years they're going to be out of the ACC. They're going to look at the Big Ten. They're going to look at the SEC. Their job, just like anyone looking for a new job out there, is to build their portfolio, build their resume to make them the most attractive to the programs that are going to look at them. Now, they got to do that. If they're going to try to get to the SEC, they got to make it really high, because South Carolina is going to be looking at them saying, I don't want them here. The Big Ten, they're going to be much more attractive because they don't have that piece down in South Carolina. But regardless, both of those conferences, Clemson does not want to close any doors. So to make themselves look as attractive as they can, like a long-term schedule against Notre Dame, where you're playing a playoff team that's going to be a perennial playoff team every single year, is going to only help them.
And even if they're not a playoff team, it's Notre Dame.
Right.
They're going to draw no matter what.
Yeah, you got to figure that this matchup, it's probably going to get College Game Day like every single year. And if it's not College Game Day, it's like the Saturday night ABC special. So the viewership will very much be there all throughout, the course of this deal, if it does end up going for 12 years. But I can't get over the fact that, like, this is just so inconsequential for the ACC. And for anyone that watched Loki, the Disney series on Disney Plus, I kind of liken this to, like, when they go back in time before like a doomsday scenario, they can do anything they want, but it won't matter because it's going to get wiped out anyway. That's what this feels like. The ACC can try and conjure up deals with Notre Dame, and it feels good and looks good for Clemson, but it's not going to matter come in 2030. Clemson's going to be out of here. Florida State's going to be out of here. Probably Miami's going to be out of here. It's almost inevitable at this point. So while this is a good deal for Clemson, it doesn't help out Boston College. It doesn't help out UNC. I can't believe I just said that. It doesn't help out NC State or Georgia Tech or Syracuse. It's just so inconsequential. But sure, good for the Tigers, good for the Irish, even though we still are getting used by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for unknown reasons. But, it is what it is.
And in terms of it being a win-win for Clemson, I don't think there's any argument or doubt there. I mean, there's no way that you could say either one of the teams involved are a loser in this. And you talk about what does this look like going forward and all that good stuff. Again, the TV deals are up when they're up. It's very interesting that this deal was struck for them to have 2 to 3 years worth of games exactly before the new TV deals are set to be cut there. But you talk about being very interested or very interesting to those two conferences. I mean, it's Clemson. They're a premier brand in the sport. There's no argument about that. And I'll tell you, the only way that benefits the ACC, congratulations, Jackson. You'll be the most important team wearing orange in the conference. I mean, that's without a doubt. That's without a doubt. But again, everything else, this is a direct detriment to the ACC. You could probably take those little crumbs of 2-3 years where you're like, oh, look, we had really good ratings for this one particular game. And then what? Because ESPN is no idiots. When they're factoring in whatever contract negotiations or whatever the case may be, they're going to factor in, well, wait a minute, what percentage of those views came from Clemson and Notre Dame? So, again, it's just one of those moments where this is why I said from the beginning, do not capitulate, fight with every single thing you have, because at the end of the day, if you're saying, well, we'll just lose slowly, that's guaranteeing a loss. If you just fight and claw with everything you got and you end up losing, at least you go down swinging instead of going down saying, please think about us. We're your conference, remember? We're important. Notre Dame, we're half your conference, right? Every other sport besides football, you guys are over here. Come on. Never going to happen.
Well, folks, any last thoughts on this?
Go ACC.
Go ACC. We're all going to be dead anyway, right?
A little far, but I get where you're going.
I meant the ACC will be dead.
I get you, Jackson. I get you. I'm just saying a little far.
I wonder what's going to happen with every other team in the ACC once this other team fairly. Where are they? Does everyone stay, or what happens?
Jackson said, "Send the asteroid."
People keep getting it confused. We are closer to the Big 12 than we are the Pac-12. Don't get me wrong. Will the conference take a hit? Absolutely. I'm not saying that losing Clemson, losing Florida State is nothing. But at the end of the day, the Big 12 is still considered a power conference. We still will be considered a power conference without these major schools. Again, it's not good, but we are not the Pac-12 where we're going to see those 3 leave, and then we're going to see 6 more leave, and then we're going to see – that's not happening here. Because, again, most of these schools have no place to go. With all due respect, most of us, you can't go nowhere, even if you damn wanted to.
Yep.
Maybe
and you're not even bringing up the fact that I think in like 6 or 7 years, some of these schools in the Big Ten and SEC, they're going to get their butts kicked out too.
Yes.
Like Rutgers, Maryland, Vanderbilt.
Hold on.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Are you allowed to kick members out?
Well, once the media deal's gone and they don't want to pay them the same amount.
Like, aren't you? I feel like, really?
Yes.
I'm dumb.
When they go to the media rights table and Fox or ESPN says to them, we're going to pay you $40 million, but we're not paying Maryland $40 million. We're not paying Illinois $40 million. We're going to be paying Michigan and Ohio. They're going to do that kind of stuff. And then those other schools, they'll be coming towards us. And then you'll see a whole new conference that's, got other programs that you're not even expecting to join us coming soon.
You know that Adam Silver meme? Like, get ready to learn, you know what? Yeah. Maryland, get ready to learn ACC. Illinois, get ready to learn ACC. Here we go.
Hey,
I love Brett Bielema. I would love to see Brett Bielema in the ACC.
If Illinois goes to the ACC, well, suddenly Syracuse has another orange team to compete with.
Oh, damn. You lost your orange relevance just like that. Orange supremacy will not be tolerated in the ACC.
Oh, we'll still win it anyway. We'll be better than Illinois at something. I don't know what, but it'll be something. All right.
Water polo and badminton always there.
What?
I said water polo and badminton always there. The country club sports. There you go. With one lacrosse.
Oh, lacrosse we own pretty much everyone.
There you go.
That's neither here nor there, though. That just about does it for this Clemson and Notre Dame talk. But we're going to shift gears to the hardwood because there's some early top 25s coming out about basketball here, and there's just not a lot of ACC representation. So has the conference done enough to recover? That's coming up next on Locked On ACC Squad. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your pair of controllers, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Avowed. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes with your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. This is the Locked On ACC Squad. I'm Jackson Holzer, host of Locked On Syracuse, Kenton Gibbs, and Grayson Boone, the hosts of Locked On Wolfpack, and of course, AJ Black, the host of Locked On Boston College. We are done talking about football, and folks, you know what that means. You know what I have to do, right?
Hey, I don't know why. I was just about to say, I don't know why we want to be sad about you switching your background.
I had to make it dramatic. I had to make it dramatic to get the basketball background in here. So there's a lot of top 25 lists coming out. And the transfer portal, see, AJ's doing it too.
Me and Grayson will up our game next time. We'll have basketball backgrounds ready Grayson
Say
normally
hello
has
to
some
my
banners in
closet.
his background.
That is fantastic. So the transfer portal is kind of winding down. I mean, there's just not a lot of great players really out there at this point. If your team is making a move, and we'll talk about NC State in just a moment here, it's probably just a depth guy at this point. It's probably your 13th or 14th guy. He's getting a nice NIL offer to sit on the bench for most of the season. So we kind of know what these rosters are going to look like heading into next season. And with that being said, ESPN just released their updated top 25. Now, keep in mind, this was on Tuesday. And so now you're watching or listening to this on Thursday. So maybe something's changed. But at the time of this recording, only 3 teams were in the top 25. That's it. You got Duke at 6, Louisville at 7. So they've done a lot. And then North Carolina, because of their name, they're top 25. So Kenton and Grayson, do you have something to say about it? Because, I think there's an addition coming here soon.
Maybe not like today, but soon we will have something to say about this. There's still a pending potential very big fish on the line for NC State basketball in these next couple weeks. But I mean, our portal class so far, it's pretty good. I don't think it's, wowed anyone per se. I think everybody associates Will Wade with fireworks and, the mantra of an American gangster. I think that's coming, but so far, Will Wade and his staff have been very meticulous about who they're going out and adding. It's all been kind of done in the shadows, very behind the scenes type of deal. But NC State fans are getting very excited about who we have so far. We picked up a point guard from Michigan State and Trey Holloman. We picked up Terrence Arsenault, who just played in the national championship with Houston. We've picked up a center from overseas who's playing in France, Paul Mbia. He has a wingspan, I think, of like 7'7", very raw, unproven talent there. And if you do add in a potential of PJ Haggerty, who's the guard from Memphis, that's the big fish in question. He was the number 3 leading scorer in all of college basketball this past year. I think it was over like 21 points per game. If Will Wade can land that, then you will see NC State more than likely pop up on some of these lists.
Haggerty is a big fish, but he's a lot better. But Will Wade's a lot better than Captain Ahab. We're actually going to get our white whale, okay? Moby Dick ain't sliding away from us. But in all seriousness, when I look at the preseason, way too early rankings and all that, who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, I've told everybody for the longest, the ACC has that negative perception right now nationally. We have that negative perception, that cloud hanging over us. That's like, if you ever seen the meme where it's like, oh, wow, that dress looks great on you, flirting. And then the larger fella comes along and says the same thing in this harassment. We're the harassment guy right now. That's where the ACC is, okay? Everything that we do will be the wrong move. Everybody will harshly criticize everything that we've done. If you don't believe that Odom and company will be near the top 25, will be a team that is in tournament contention this year, I don't know why. I don't know what he's shown you to think that he can't get it done. If you don't believe that Will Wade and company will be getting it done this year, I don't know what else there is to tell you. With all the losses that Clemson is suffering, has Brownell not shown us, hey, don't sleep on us. It does not matter where you rank us in the preseason. We will find a way to at least be formidable and decent every year over the past few. So, I mean, at the end of the day, and then that doesn't even mention all the great things that Syracuse did with their recruiting class and their portal class. So, again, the ACC right now is suffering from that thing of, because people believe you're bad, they're going to project that onto you. But I'm thankful that there's going to come some days not too long from now where there's a ball that's going to be tossed in the air. 2 big men are going to try to tip it to their team, and then points will be tallied. I'm thankful that we'll get to see these guys do what they do because, again, preseason rankings are preseason rankings. No big deal.
AJ, you want to say something there?
Coming from a school that you would be surprised if this picture behind me is not actually during a game.
When Duke or Syracuse are coming to town.
Yeah, unless it was Syracuse or Duke, that's usually what it looks like at this point. So I look at ACC, and the one thing that I worry about is that we talked about this in the first segment about the growth of the Big Ten and SEC, and that media rights extra money that they're getting that they can now funnel into whatever the heck they want, whether it's staffing. I mean, Todd Golden at UF just got a 6-year deal, and he's paying all his assistants, so they're not going anywhere. So, like, these bigger programs are getting more money to do this kind of stuff. So my bigger concern for the ACC in terms of basketball is, I agree with Kenton. You got to play the games first before you can say if this is going to work or this isn't going to work. But I'm still wondering if this, stratification between the Big Ten and the SEC, and hey, we should also talk about how the Big East, they're funneling all their money into basketball. They don't have to funnel into football. They have more money to do that kind of work. Is this really hurting the ACC right now? Because the ACC has to pay for, football, baseball, all these other sports that are costing them more money. Is that what's going to end up, why there's such a bad perception of this conference right now? You have programs on the rise. NC State, obviously, like, just watching what they're doing is right. I mean, man, Pat Kelsey has done incredible things in just 1 year. And then you have Miami and Florida State also, they got new coaches. Things are looking on the right side there. But again, when the ball tips off, is it enough? And I'm not sure it is.
I think you made a great point just there about the Big East.
Yeah.
Because I think the Big East is about to return to basketball prominence. And the reason why I think that is because you got this House settlement, which actually might be more up in the air than we originally thought. But if we assume that goes through and every school gets to spend a maximum of $20 million, give or take, on their players, they're allowed to pay their players directly with this new deal coming in place, right? Revenue sharing. All cool. That's the cap, $20 million. The SEC, the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, they got to pay football players too. And there's nothing in that deal that says, hey, you got to divide it proportionally among different programs. You can choose whatever programs you want to spend your money on. What do you think the Big East is going to do? They're going to funnel most of that $20 million. Basketball. That's what they're going to do.
I think you run into a problem with that because we're assuming that everybody's going to hit the max of $20 million. Do you think that the Big East is going to be making $20 million per school when basketball is their only revenue generator?
Might still be able to spend a lot more, even if they're spent. How much are the SEC schools and how much are not even SEC? How much are the programs that have football teams? How much are they going to be putting in their football? And then how much are they going to have left over to use on basketball? So all the Big East would have to do is spend more than whatever program is going to put on basketball. That's all they got to do. They don't even have to hit $20 million.
So here's what I believe will most likely happen if the House settlement comes to fruition. Because one thing that I'm coming to realize more and more and looking at the language of this thing, NIL will not be impacted in a significant way. As much as all of these folks want it to be and everybody wants it to be, there'll be great scrutiny on all of your NIL things and you'll have to prove that you're providing value. Well, Jackson, how does one do that, right?
You can't.
How
you
much
can't cap NIL. We've had this conversation.
Exactly. Beyonce did one commercial for Levi jeans. She didn't do an entire press rollout where she was going around the country in Levi jeans. How much did they have to pay her for that? Right? You can't determine, that Beyonce shouldn't have gotten that and that's illegal now because the NIL says so. And mind you, I know that I'm talking about Beyonce, but now flip that to whatever football player. Flip that to, I was going to say Trevor Pena, but he's no longer in the ACC. Yikes. But flip that to a CJ.
Klubnik.
Exactly, Cade Klubnik. Flip that to, let's say Nico actually would have went to USC. What do you do then to say, this guy doesn't deserve that? So I think that these teams are going to use that money to supplement wherever NIL comes short. But I don't think that there will be so much money in that now all of a sudden these Big East teams who only have TV deals for basketball are going to be bought even. With all due respect, if DePaul can generate the same amount of money as your school, you're the problem, buddy. Sorry to tell you.
All right. Well, we still got a while to go before the games officially tip off, but I think it's easy to say that they don't matter when it doesn't fit the narrative of, we're going to be so good. And then you only see 3 teams. It doesn't matter. But, if there were 8 teams in the top 25, we'd be pounding our chest saying, go ACC, go ACC. Look at how great we did as a conference. Look at all these projections out there saying how great we're going to be. That's kind of where I'm at right now. It's one of those things where you got to see it to believe it. They're coming off their worst season in quite a while, where Duke was legitimately the only really good team out there. Even the teams we thought we good disappointed in March Madness. I'm talking about Louisville and North Carolina and Clemson. So we'll see. But you know what? they got to play the games, and when in doubt, win your games, right? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of a Locked On ACC Squad. And hey, folks, since you've made it this far in the podcast, can you do us all a favor? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps the channel grow and reach all ACC fans. And folks, you want to check out more of our content? Well, hey, guess what? I'm the host of Locked On Syracuse, upload every single day. Same thing with Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone. They're the host of Locked On Wolfpack. Be sure to subscribe and like their channel. And of course, AJ Black, the host of Locked On Boston College. Do us all a favor, hit that subscribe button. It truly means a ton. We appreciate all of your support, and we'll see you all again next week on ACC Squad.